Hey guys, I'm Frank.
Hey, I'm Leo.
And welcome to a brand new episode of
Terror Recollect. Hey everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of the second season of Terror Recollect. In this episode, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We've all been in the position where we've watched bad sequels, bad remakes, and have always wished, man, if I could have done this differently, I would have done this. If I had control over this, I would have done this. So that's what we're actually going to be doing in this episode. We're going to be discussing what if, like concepts that we have for what ifs we could do for a particular horror series, whether it's television or feature film, and discuss what we would do if the property was in our possession. What do you think, Frank?
You know, when you think of fan fiction, some of these guys, that's all it is. I mean, it stays in their heads as ideas.
Right, like just people saying like, oh, if I were to do this, I were to do this.
Right.
But there are times when it goes beyond that.
Yeah, like Never Hike Alone, you know, the fan film. Jason
Based
Bourne.
on fan fiction, fan film. And it's something that a lot of Friday the 13th fans, not necessarily myself, but a lot of Friday the 13th fans hold as a near and dear chapter to themselves because it even features
Tom Matthews.
Tom Matthews, who played Tommy Jarvis in Part 6 in it, and it's well shot. I will say that it's very well shot fan film.
And you've actually made some short films yourself.
Yeah, that's actually what got me wanting to. For those who don't know, I have dabbled in filmmaking myself. Frank, for those who don't know, is a writer, and he's done some wonderful writing. And I'm a filmmaker, I'm a director, so I've done some of my own little short films. I've done something called Leatherface versus Jason that takes place actually in two different time periods. The first part takes place after the events of Friday the 13th, Part 1, and Jason intersects with members of the Sawyer family and ends up in Texas in a little battle with Leatherface. And then the story picks up 20 years later, 20 or 22 years later, 28 years later. And it's now Jason from Friday the 13th, Part 8, in hockey mask, who's now taking on a much, much more aged Leatherface from after the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, which is the Part 4. Yeah, there's just something really special and remarkable about having control over these characters and really playing with them almost like a kid would play with action figures, and you create that world yourself, and then you bring your own artistic touch to it, and you bring your own fandom into it and say, like, you know, this is what I would love to see this happen.
Yeah, it's almost a way to contribute to a franchise that you loved, you know, all your life.
I like that. You know? Contribute to a franchise you love. I like that. I've seen some fan films that do a lot of the verses. I mean, mine is a versus too. Leatherface vs. Jason, one of them I did, is a versus film. But then also I've seen some pretty good versus movies. They do like Michael versus Jason. They've done continuations of Freddy versus Jason. They've done Michael versus Freddy. I still want to see a Chucky versus Freddy though.
That would actually be, as far as all, you know, all the crossover ideas that I've heard, a Chucky versus Freddy would actually be pretty entertaining.
Right?
I've seen a Michael versus Jason one, and to me it was
less than spectacular.
Yeah, because I mean, neither of them talk, so it's just a silent, like you're watching a silent film. And the one that I watched was, I mean, it was basically them like,
I love it,
like throwing punches.
It's a silent film.
You know, and
that one, the one I saw was pretty good. Because there's definitely some good attempts out there. But you're right, they are silent killers. So you either have to have a story where there's another central character who's narrating what's happening, or at least gives us the idea. But yeah, pretty much all they can do is throw punches at each other.
Pretty much, and it ends up being like more like
WWE or something.
Or like, you know, Michael doesn't punch, he doesn't kick. You know what I mean? So and neither of them can really die. So it's kind of like, is it really pointless?
You know what? That's a really good point, because although I love Freddy vs. Jason and he necessarily does not love Freddy vs. Jason, that's one thing that I'm aware of, but it never really stuck out to me, of the fact that all of a sudden Freddy's now punching and dropping elbows and stuff like. Oh, look at that look on Frank's face.
He does a jump kick.
Yeah, he does. Like he's studying karate or something.
And Ronnie, you, the director, said he took inspiration from WWE. Those were his words, from WWE wrestling.
Look at the look on Frank's face. This is the best. I love it.
So it's a crossover is very tricky to do, and so that's why I would never do a crossover. But a Chucky versus Freddy, it could be done right, and having them the battle of the wits type thing would be amazing.
Wow, I didn't even think about that because they're both because the Chucky kills are about misdirection and they're about using the fact, well, maybe in the early films it was like hide away as a doll, almost like Toy Story. Yeah. You hide away as a doll and then you charge.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Get them while they're least expecting it.
I thought that it would be cool because they're both crap talkers. They both talk trash great.
Yeah, that'd be another thing.
Yeah, and Robert Englund has such a unique personality and character as Freddy. And then you have Brad Dourif, who supplying the voice and the puppeteers who do the physicality. They create this wonderful embodiment of Chucky. And I was like, that's what I always wanted to see, was just them trash talk each other. Yeah. But just the wittiness.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Maybe I'll make one. I don't know how I can
you're
get
getting a Chucky doll, aren't you?
I am getting a Chucky doll soon. That will be in our set decor eventually.
Do you want to jump right into it? Do you want to go?
I want to keep exploring this Chucky versus Freddy concept.
So,
even though this was not what we had planned at all, but even just, I didn't even think, because it's kind of blowing my mind. I'm just like, I didn't think about that, like their wits, because Freddy is also about a little bit about misdirection and about using your fear against you. And Chucky is also a mind game because he knows he's a doll.
Yeah.
That misdirection, that could work.
Yeah. And you know what, just off the top of my head, this is what I would just throw in there if I was making it. Again, this is not what we had planned, but...
but it's in the same theme.
With Freddy versus Jason, Freddy was the one that sought after Jason. You know, that sought Jason out. He's the one that started it. Have Chucky, because his whole purpose is to transfer his soul into somebody. What if you transferred your soul into the Dream Master? Because he's indestructible at that point. He's indestructible as a doll, but he still dies over and over. Dying is such a bitch, you know?
Right.
He knows that Freddy hears about Freddy, or he knows about Freddy. However, he transfers his soul, or he's attempting to transfer his soul into somebody that is indestructible.
Yeah.
And he can terrorize for as long as he wants.
Oh my God. This movie has to be made.
I mean, that's just...
Thank God the camera's rolling, because we did not plan this at all. We're just kind of spitballing ideas and...
That would, I mean...
Dude!
And obviously...
I love this!
And obviously...
Make sure the camera... Hold on. Make sure the camera's rolling. So we had tech problems before. No, yeah, it's rolling.
And obviously...
Holy crap!
And obviously you have to bring back Robert Englund.
It's
not going to bring back... And Brad Dourif. You cannot have it without those two.
Oh, no. You imagine trying to do like a Jackie Earle Haley versus... Mark Hamill, no, it's nowhere near the same as Buddy and as other Freddy. No, Buddy. It's those personalities. Yeah. Wow. When you do even think of the concept of a fan film or what you would do, it comes from a very rich place. It comes from the heart of a fan. Mm-hmm. It comes from the concept of how long these characters have lived in your head. Like, I think this is what we used to do before YouTube was ever a thing. Yeah. We would just kind of hang out at each other's houses, me mostly at Frank's house, because we love eating the pizza out there. Being able to just say, what would you do if this? And, oh my God. And that was just a whole other thing right there. That's why I was just glad the camera was rolling.
Can I add one more thing that I think is actually pretty cool?
We need to. Keep going, please.
Chucky does not sleep.
Right?
How is Freddy going to go after Chucky?
Oh my God!
No, listen.
You're blowing my brains out.
Freddy always attacks people in their dreams.
Right.
The only way to destroy him, he has to come out to the real world.
Oh my God.
The only time that Freddy...
I'm not even exaggerating for the camera.
I'm getting chills too.
I'm genuinely freaking out.
I'm getting like chills thinking about it.
Because this is amazing.
Because Freddy, I mean, he's vulnerable when he comes out into the real world.
Right.
But he has to in order to take down Chucky.
Yeah, because Chucky doesn't sleep.
He doesn't sleep. So he has to...
Oh my God.
Bring himself to be vulnerable in order to get Chucky. And this could even be one where you're actually rooting for Freddy.
And imagine like seeing a scene of like how Chucky used to do it back before. I think he kind of still did it in some of the later ones. Like since Freddy's now in the real world and he has to deal with real world elements, like him going, "Where are you, you little shit, you little bastard?" and then you just hear the cackle.
Yeah.
And then like he comes and then like the way maybe like Gage sliced Judd's ankle, like he would do that to Freddy, and like, you little pipsqueak, get over here. And then like maybe Freddy getting in a good swipe across his either his face or his chest or something, and kind of exposing the doll parts along with maybe some human parts of Chucky. We've never even explored this as a concept, but now that we have, I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. This has to happen.
And you can even bring in like, you don't have to, but you can even bring in like Andy. You could bring in Nancy.
Some version of Nancy. You could have it be the reality in which Wes Craven's New Nightmare took place. So where Nancy is Heather, but then has the ability to be Nancy, kind of like the way that Nancy existed in the script of Wes Craven. She enters like the script world where it's the real Freddy or something like that. So you still can have a continuity where Nancy exists, because Nancy, the character, died in episode 3 or part 3, episode 3, whatever. But you could have Heather Langenkamp, kind of the same way John Saxon walks into frame and then turns around and all of a sudden he's Lieutenant Thompson.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Dang.
You got pat ourselves on the back for that one. That's good.
Well done.
This
has to happen, man.
Like, if you're gonna do any crossover, I mean, that's the one I would do.
It's Freddy versus Chucky, doll versus burnt razor-bladed dream killer. And it's just like, oh my God, that would work. And Freddy vs. Jason worked to me, but this almost seems like a way better concept.
Yeah. I can imagine like as far as like some of the banter between them, like being like, before I got stuck in his body, I killed so and so many, and I killed even more after I, did that. Oh, those are rookie numbers, or something like that, kind of comparing, You know
what you could also do? Have like a flashback where they end up like the way they did in Curse of Chucky, where it turned out that Charles Lee Ray knew the family of this one. You can do a thing where Freddy, before he died, when he was just Fred Krueger, Charles Lee Ray, that their paths intersected
somehow
in life back then. Like maybe Charles Lee Ray killed like his Freddy Krueger's next door neighbor, like a Night Stalker kind of killing, and that might have inspired him to act out his fantasy or something, or vice versa. Maybe
like they never talked, they never spoke, they
never
interacted.
But they're like paths crossed, and they influenced each other without knowing it.
Yeah, and hell, you could even, because they influenced each other, you could even have them like team up at the end, not necessarily like,
oh my God, you're blowing my freaking head. Like instead of like, I hate you, we have to destroy each other. Let's work together.
Yeah, because Freddy and Jason didn't do that. You know what I mean?
No. And that's the kind of twist that you need with, modern cinema these days, there's a formula to almost everything. So you kind of have to flip something on its head in order to make it unlike anything you've seen before. And well, I don't want to say relevant, but like hip to something fresh and new. And that would be the way to do it. No final battle, because there's been like
you could have a final battle, but then on the kind of like Freddy vs. Jason, where you still have like the teenagers that are trying to stop both of them or trying to figure out a way. You could still have them, because first of all, we have to have Freddy kill somebody, and it has to be in the dream world.
But maybe the first half of the movie is all dream world killings, and even just how they say like every death makes him stronger because of his chest of souls.
Oh, yeah.
So there has to be some dream killing.
Yeah.
What if Chucky has a new target, a new victim, and in doll form, he enters the house in a very creepy way, and the person's asleep in bed, and he almost kind of like what Jason did to Freddy in the cornfields, where it's like he's ready to come up, and
kills
he's
him
like,
before he can get to him.
I finally found you, and then the girl wakes up, or something like that, and he's just like, what the hell did you, this now? It's like you took this, almost kind of like what Freddy did.
I love that. I love that.
Oh, what do we got?
I love that. So
what do we got?
One of the people, assuming we can bring, this is our idea, this is our fantasy.
God.
If you can bring in Freddy's arch nemesis, it doesn't have to be Heather, but maybe Alice. You can bring in Andy.
Alice lives. Yeah.
Chucky kills Alice because he says, I can do what you can do.
Oh, no.
And then Freddy kills Andy.
Oh.
Freddy kills Andy.
Oh my God, he's got chills like in 1,000 different places. Freddy kills Andy because oh no, and then that's how they one up each other.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't take it. My
It's like
brain
the
is exploding.
one target that each of them cannot it could even be Heather.
And that's how they. Oh, because we could even use a theory that once we came up with a different thing where Alice is maybe a detective now, and she's closing in on the Charles Lee Ray case, the killer doll case, and she's close. And Chucky, so he can live forever, is trying to make sure that he doesn't have impediments in his way. So he goes to take out Alice, but maybe that's where Freddy finds out that Chucky took out Alice, so then he takes out Andy in order to kind of one up the score, and then now they're enemies.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're geniuses. I mean, come on.
I can't. I'm not even like pretending or play acting for the camera. Like, I can't process this. This is so amazing. Because that is the perfect thing that has to happen. And I think that's the formula for a great fan film. Because you have to create the depths of the elements of both franchises, both series, and mash them together in this wonderful amalgam of something. And I think that's exactly what this concept is. Oh my god. My brain can't work right now. And
this is like way better than what I was gonna say about my original pitch. I was like, man.
I mean, we could still revisit those, but this is even. I don't want to say this is even more amazing because I have heard your pitch for the thing that you want to talk about, and I know my pitch is genius as well. But this is amazing to me.
No, I mean, me too.
I'm absolutely loving this. I think that's.
And like I've been watching these movies, and I'm like, man, I hope like Andy don't get killed off. I hope he don't die because he's like the main character. But if Freddy is the one that killed him off, that'd be amazing.
There's nothing like it's just like, oh my god, and then just the rivalry that would create.
Yeah.
That competition. That how dare you?
Yeah.
This was my prize. This was my target.
Yeah.
This was my entire life's worth. And
it's like, Alice and Andy would have to probably like kind of team up. Like they would have interactions too.
Because in Cult of Chucky, it's Jennifer Tilly, which kind of what they started in Seed of Chucky. Where it's like kind of the same way it's Nancy and it's Heather.
Yeah.
So in a way, the ground is fertile for a crossover.
Say their interactions go something like this, like where she warns him, like, well, Freddy, that's his MO is don't fall asleep because he kills you in your sleep. And he doesn't fall asleep. He's been good at it, but in order to transfer his soul, he has to knock Andy out, and that's when Freddy gets him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he knocks Andy out, which allows Freddy to get into his dream.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know if we can or should go into what we were going to talk about. Maybe, just to kind of completely make this a topic of fan ideas. If anything, maybe we can just...
detailed.
Yeah. I think if anything, just to kind of grace through concepts. I mean, do you want to go first or should I go?
Yeah, I'll go.
Go for it.
Okay, so my original pitch for this episode was a new Scream entry in the Scream franchise. I'm not talking about Scream 5. I'm not talking about a new movie. I'm talking about a TV series, which is what they tried to do, and it failed twice. Each Scream film deals with a different topic: horror movies, sequels, trilogies, and remakes. And it's usually what is popular at that time. And what's popular now is TV series. Everything's getting turned into a TV series. Child's Play is coming out. My idea is basically a killer is out to make his own series, his own television show. You can bring back the original characters, or even at least Dewey and Gale, and Detective Kincaid from Part 3, Patrick Dempsey. So basically it would start out with the killer basically killing off Dewey and Gale in the pilot episode. They bring in Detective Kincaid, who he's dealt with Ghostface before and the case and everything, to work on this new, or to track down this new killer that's apparently on the loose. The killer basically says, like, I'm gonna make 10 episodes. I'm gonna make 10 episodes. Every episode somebody is going to die.
I like that.
So it's up to you to catch me before the series ends.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Obviously he goes after Dewey and Gale because or even Sydney too, and kills them all because that's what you have to do in the pilot episode. You have to snatch people's attention, or basically, and that's how he does it. He kills off the 3 main people. So Patrick Dempsey, you can even use archive footage, like old interviews that he's, when Detective Kincaid's going to be doing some like backstory or history work. Old interviews, you could bring back old characters like Jamie Kennedy's character, and these are going to be like supposedly archive footage. You know?
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Told you I'd make a movie someday. You were dealing with the concluding chapter of a trilogy. That's right.
So that's pretty much what my idea I had for a new Scream entry. And what I like about your idea is that you're very good at bridging stuff. And as far as fan fiction goes, I think that bridging movies that are completely opposites is harder than coming up with, an original concept.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead, take a look.
I too have another concept for a Friday the 13th movie that I won't say too much about because I think this is something that could make a very, very dynamic film. All I will say is it will tie all 13. It would be a 13th entry, and it would actually make all 13 movies coincide with each other. It'd be a little wavy along the way, but it would make it one linear story, and it would give it a launch-off point after the 13th film in order to be able to go on into other territories without necessarily having to focus on the story that took place before. So those 13, being Friday the 13th, would be its own thing. And even if nothing ever were to get made after that, those 13 films would still exist. And it would be one story that, you could probably binge watch if you wanted to, but I won't go into any details because I think it could really get made, knock on wood. But yeah, so that's part of what, for me, is the fascination behind doing fan films or fan fiction or creating the image in your head, is that there are these various elements and then doing the creative work to make them basically 2 things that were never really meant to be together, put them together creatively and say, this is how they can become something. So, to me, even just the idea and the concept of that gets me excited. Like, oh my God, I would love to see something like that. Frank had one for if you want to say,
a proper entry and finale to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Kind of making it a trilogy and making I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer never having taken place.
Yeah, it was a fan fiction movie that was made in that
world.
In that world, yeah.
Yeah, so that way the true chapters are only
one,
Jennifer Love Hewitt and with her and the characters and Freddie Prinze and yeah.
This is the spot that I'll never forget what you did last summer. We'll film. This is where it'll end. This is where it started. And awesome. It will happen. It will happen. There we go.
This has been a phenomenal experience. I did not go into this anticipating anything that just happened.
Yeah.
So this has been a real treat. Any last thoughts before we close out?
Stay tuned for episode 5.
Coming soon.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Or to home video release. Or to YouTube. I don't know. One of those.
Streaming service.
Exactly.
One of those.
Exactly. Thanks for being part of this. We'll see you then.
You call action this time.
I can't do it any other way. I only do that deep voice. Terror recollect.
Terror recollect.
Terror.
There's only so many ways you can say it.
Yeah. Terror recollect.
Maybe. Not that.
I'm not laughing while you're laughing. Come on.
Not responsibility, but if it was...
What are you, Spider-Man? Great power comes great responsibility? Jesus.
I'll take it back.